got to thank Ken for those pictures. He done got tears in my eyes already, though. But first of all, got about 20 supporters here. I'm grateful. I'd like to, two immediate family members I'd like to introduce. First of all, my wife, Hilda. Stand up. We just celebrated 20 years of marriage. I don't have any complaints yet, but if you talk to her, she'd give you a whole long list. So, yeah. And my son Chad is here. Chad's a two-time junior national champ, bit of a junior national place finisher. And he's proud of, and I'm proud of, he's University of Toledo. He placed in the Mid-American Conference. He's been coaching in Toledo public schools now for about 20 years. So, my other son, Kyle, 6 months ago, he made plans to go to New York City with his family. He bought a table for us, though, so he's all right. Yeah. Yeah. And another guy here that I need to introduce, he thinks I'm his father, but I like to think he's my younger brother. But my claim to fame as a coach is John Cowell. He got introduced on a thing. Stand up, John. John Cowell, Archbold, Ohio. State champ for me my first year coaching. I thought it was going to be easy, but I learned it took me a long time. I got a Nate Lewis from Libby High School, was second in the state, but he was a pleasure to coach. So, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody here, and I'm thankful to God that I'm here accepting this award in person rather than posthumously. 20 years ago, I suffered a dissected aorta, and I was fortunate at the time. The cardiologist on call was James Bingle, and the cardiothoracic surgeon was Dr. Michael Morant. He was a pioneer in the field of repairing aortas, and he's still a rock star in the field of replacing heart valves and stuff. So I heard from many people in the medical field. I was very fortunate to have them there on call that day. So, sadly, many of the folks that created a fantastic environment for me and worked hard to help me get here are no longer with us. Beginning with my dad. There's a great picture of him up there. I don't know if you saw the man towering over me. He grew up during the Depression, went to high school during World War II. He had to work. He was a big, raw-boned guy, 6'2½", looked slim at 220. He knew he could have been a good athlete. He didn't have the opportunity. He made sure I had the opportunity. He had the foresight to see fantastic environment that was developing right in front of our eyes, and he made sure I took advantage of it. So, the best thing my dad did for me was to take me to the Torrio Health Club when I was 8 years old. Dick Torrio taught classes for kids. Half of it was tumbling, half was wrestling. And by the 7th grade, Dick started me on his weight training program for wrestlers. By the time I was in high school, I was working out with his world-class powerlift team. So while at Torrio's, I met University of Toledo and the city of Toledo's founding father of wrestling, Joe Scalzo Sr. He was the first wrestling coach at the University of Toledo starting in the late 40s, and he lobbied hard to get high school wrestling in the Toledo area. He was the architect of the fantastic environment that I took advantage of. Joe brought 3 superstars to Toledo. All 3 stayed in Toledo and helped make Toledo wrestling outstanding and great. First of all, being Harry Lanzi. He was a 1951 NCAA champion. He was the first NCAA champion from Toledo wrestling. He ended up coaching at Maycomber High School, inner city vocational school, for 30 years in Toledo. I was a coach. I was glad when he retired. Yeah. Next of all is my coach, and I call him my life coach, Dick Torrio. Dick Torrio is on the same team as Lanzi. He's a 3-time NCAA All-American. He opened a Torrio Health Club in 1957. And then third on the list is Dick Wilson. Dick Wilson is my college coach, but he was a 3-time NCAA runner-up, and incredibly, he was a 3-time Olympian. He's 1956, 60, and 64. Other kids I grew up with, their heroes were like Mickey Mantle, Rocky Colavito, Al Kaline, by the way, I'm aging myself, but they're the stars back then. But the guy I admired was Dick Wilson. Yeah. As a kid, I was able to watch Dick Wilson work out at the Torrio Health Club, and every now and then he'd throw me on the mat and wrestle with me too. So, and Joe Scalzo Sr., with the help of Dick Torrio, brought the 1961 National AAU Wrestling Tournament to Toledo. I can vividly remember watching a sold-out crowd at the Toledo Fieldhouse give Dick Wilson a 10-minute standing ovation while walking to and on top of the victory stand. As a kid, just learned how to wrestle. He planted a seed in my head big time. To top that, Scalzo and Torrio brought the 1962 and 1966 World Championships to Toledo. They had, each time there was over 40 countries that were represented. In 1962, it was the first time the World Championships were anywhere besides, first time in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. Sadly, Joe Scalzo is no longer with us, but his son, Mike Scalzo, is here tonight to give me support and represent his dad. I'd like to introduce Mike. Mike Scalzo. Yeah. I had great workout partners in Toledo. It wasn't easy for heavyweights to get good workout partners. I was blessed with great workout partners. First of all, the former UT heavyweight Harvey Bowles took me under his wing when I was in high school, and he later became the University of Toledo head coach. And then Dick Torrio, when I got to college, Dick Torrio took me on as his project. We would close the gym at 10 o'clock and then wrestle until midnight. In my sophomore year of college, Torrio somehow corralled former UT football stars and wrestlers, Paul Elsey and Don Wiper, into working out and wrestling with me. They both are coming back from playing pro football. Wiper with the Toronto Argonauts, Elsey with the Cincinnati Bengals. Both are 6'3" and bulked up to around 240 pounds. Torrio knew I could wrestle. I was close to the best in the freestyle and Greco in the country already, but I think he had a little reserve as to how I was doing in my first NCAA tournament against some fantastic athletes. A lot of college football players. Some even went on to play pro. You Cleveland Brown fans might remember Jerry Shirk. Played here for 10, 12 years, all pro a few times. He was in my first NCAA tournament, and thankfully, a Kent State guy, a brother, MAC wrestler, Kent State guy. I saw some people from Kent State. Tom Walters, he was a mountain of a man. He's about 6'5", 320 pounds. He upset Shirk in the second round, so I think he did me a favor. I ended up making it to the finals anyhow. So Wiper and Elsey, they come into the University of Toledo wrestling room and tag teamed against me. Wiper would go 3 minutes, then Elsey would go 3 minutes. Then Wiper would go 3 minutes, Elsey would go 3 minutes. They pounded me. And as it turned out, I had like three overtime matches in NCAAs. My sophomore year, I had an overtime match in the semifinals. And then senior year, I had 2 overtime matches. So those beatings did me a lot of good. So I appreciate having them there. Paul Elsey is no longer with us, but Don Wiper, his partner and 55-year friend of mine, is here. I'd like to introduce Don. Yeah. I had other great workout partners in Toledo, mostly at the Torrio Health Club. Zoltan Ivan was a former Hungarian national team member before he immigrated to Toledo. I think Joe Scalzo played a big part in getting him to Toledo, too. But he taught me. We did a lot of Greco-Roman wrestling. He was an expert at that. And then Sean Scott was a Toledoan. He studied 2 years in Europe, Greco-Roman wrestling. Then he came back. We did a lot of drilling. Those guys both helped me a lot of Greco-Roman wrestling. And then last was Dave Hendricks. He followed me at the University of Toledo, the heavyweight. The good thing about these guys is they're very unselfish. They weren't competing anymore. They stayed with me until I finally made the Olympic team in 1980. So I was very grateful to all those guys. Yeah. After I made the Olympic team, I only had one goal left. I wanted to test the waters of pro wrestling. I was already 29 at the time. I had 8 years in a teaching career that I really enjoyed. Toledo Public Schools and Libby High School, they were good to me. And I 7 years in a 30-year mortgage, and I had 3 sons. 2 of them are already in school. So I didn't want to uproot, but I wanted to be a wrestler. Thankfully, I ran into Jerry Jaffe, better known as Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., where else but at Torrio's. He was working out there. I asked him if he could help me get started. He trained me right on the wrestling mat we had there. He hooked me up with a couple of Midwest promoters that were independent, so I had a chance to wrestle part-time wrestling. I got a good taste of it. And Jerry and I had about a good 15-year run. So Jerry's here tonight. I'd like to introduce Jerry. Jerry Jaffe, Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. The Torrio Health Club was the epicenter of wrestling in Toledo. Dick trained high school, college, and professional athletes of all sports. Most of his members, however, were just average guys from all walks of life that wanted to exercise to maintain good health. He had members that were doctors, lawyers, factory workers, truckers, educators, home builders, and yes, even some priests. It was a small gym nestled in a quiet Toledo residential neighborhood. Dick and the Torrio Health Club were there from 1957 until 2013. I worked out there from 58 until 2013 when it closed. Probably never had more than 200 members. However, Dick Torrio touched the lives thousands and thousands in a positive way. Dick Torrio was more than just a wrestling and weightlifting coach for me. He was like a second father to me, and I loved him as such. So, I'm sorry to say that Dick is no longer with us, but he's got 6 members of his family are here representing him and supporting me. I'd like them to stand up and introduce them. Stand up, yeah. Son Gino, wife Barbara, yeah. Daughter Teresa, grandsons, if grandsons are good wrestlers, daughter-in-law Stacy. So, and without further ado, I'd like to thank the University of Toledo for nominating me, and I'd like to thank the Mid-American Conference Committee for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. I consider this a great honor, and I appreciate being here. So thank you very much.